Rich in oil and gas, fiercely independent, and constantly at war with Ottawa over energy policies. Saskatchewan, one of the world's top agricultural powerhouses. It exports wheat, potash, and uranium, most of it straight to the U.S.
Alberta and Saskatchewan have finally had enough of Ottawa's disastrous decisions, and this time they're standing shoulder to shoulder in open rebellion.
If Alberta separated, the pressure for Saskatchewan to follow suit, either join Alberta in whatever Alberta has become, whether an independent nation or part of the United States, which is also being talked about.
Tired of being treated like cash machines despite producing 75% of Canada's oil, they're eyeing a future as the 51st and 52nd states of the United States.
Canada has just gotten worse. Crime is higher.
They're not only looking at separating from Canada, they're actually exploring becoming US states. And no, this wasn't some coffee shop gossip or a few angry tweets. This was an official joint announcement. You know how rare that is? It's the first time since the Canadian Confederation that these two provinces have actually sat down in an official joint government caucus meeting. And it wasn't in some Ottawa boardroom either. It was in Lloydminster, which is literally split between Alberta and Saskatchewan, like they planned the location just to make a point.
People think that it's Ontario holding Canada together. No, it's Alberta's money. If Alberta takes the amount of money that it sends to other provinces.
This wasn't a let's smile for the cameras kind of meeting. This was coordinated, strategic. They walked in there with a united plan, and the plan was simple. Let Ottawa know their patience is done. Both of them came out swinging, accusing Ottawa of treating them like nothing more than cash machines.
Alberta's premier says the desire to separate from Canada has never been higher in this province.
And honestly, they've got receipts. Alberta has handed over $250 billion more in federal taxes than it's gotten back over the last decade. That's not just pocket change. Meanwhile, Quebec is getting $13.2 billion every single year in equalization payments. So Alberta's the one busting its back earning the money, and Quebec's getting the check. Imagine working overtime for months and then finding out the bonus went to the guy in the next department who's been on vacation.
Saskatchewan or Alberta were simply to declare themselves independent states, and other states were to recognize them as independent states, and the government of Canada ceased to have any control over Saskatchewan, Alberta, it may be that de facto they would become independent states.
And here's the kicker. The combined population of Alberta and Saskatchewan is nearly 6 million people. That's not some fringe group you can ignore. But even more important than the headcount is the oil. These two provinces together control more than 75% of Canada's total oil production. So yeah, when they start talking about walking away, Ottawa doesn't just hear it. They feel it in their bank account. This isn't a mild protest. It's an economic threat with a very big stick.
Western Canada specifically, Saskatchewan is very closely aligned with Alberta. It's like its little brother or little sibling. So if Alberta left, I think it'd be a domino effect.
Now, let's talk about why these provinces are done playing nice. Alberta is basically an oil empire. They pump out 4.2 million barrels of oil every single day. That's 1.5 billion barrels every year. Just so you understand how insane that is, that's more oil than many OPEC nations produce. And all that oil isn't just sitting there, it's contributing $70 billion a year to Canada's GDP. Alberta is pulling 14% of the entire country's economic output, with only 11% of the population. If this were a family business, Alberta would be the kid bringing in all the sales, while still being told to sit at the kids' table during dinner.
It's Alberta's money. If Alberta takes the amount of money that it sends to other provinces as a bribe, including Quebec.
Then there's Saskatchewan, the quiet, hard-working sibling that nobody pays enough attention to. Saskatchewan is the world's top exporter of wheat, potash, and uranium. And guess where most of it goes? Straight to the US. They've got stronger trade ties with Montana, North Dakota, and Idaho than they do with Ontario or Quebec. So when people get shocked about Saskatchewan talking about joining the US, it's like, have you even been paying attention? Economically, they've already moved half their stuff into the neighbor's house.
If Alberta does nothing else but become its own independent nation, and that's assuming that Saskatchewan and the other provinces don't immediately follow.
But instead of letting these provinces grow and use their strengths, Ottawa keeps tying their hands. The carbon taxes, farmers hate them. Oil and gas companies hate them. These policies slow everything down, kill investment, and pile extra costs on people who are actually producing something, and don't even start on the environmental rules. They sound nice in a downtown speech, but make 0 sense in a wheat field or on an oil site. Then there's the Keystone XL pipeline cancellation, which slammed the brakes on billions in economic growth. That's an estimated $55 billion in lost GDP every single year for Alberta.
When you have a province like Alberta that is blocked at every single thing that it tries to do to advance its economy, it's blocked by bureaucracy, by the federal government.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. Legally, under Canada's Clarity Act, a province can separate with a simple majority in a referendum. That's it, 50% plus 1 vote, and they're out. They don't need Ottawa's blessing, and there's no secret backroom deal required. It's literally written into the law. Alberta has already locked in its independence referendum for 2026, and they've made it way easier to make it happen. The signature threshold dropped from 640,000 to just 177,000. That's not a barrier, that's an open door with a welcome sign.
The rest of Western Canada, obviously this is all hypothetical because we don't know. We'll see what happens in spring of 2026 when the official referendum comes in and we vote our way out of this mess that is today's Canada.
And they're not just talking about it, they've already blown past the requirement. The Alberta Prosperity Project has gathered over 250,000 verified signatures, months before the vote. They're not dragging their feet, they're sprinting. Saskatchewan's on the same track. They need 125,000 signatures for their own referendum and have already pulled in more than 3,000. Sure, they've got more work to do, but the momentum is there, and it's not going away.
Saskatchewan is also working on their own referendum. They require 125,000 signatures for their referendum.
This isn't some angry tweet storm that fades after a week. This is organized, coordinated. Alberta and Saskatchewan aren't whispering anymore. They're talking loud enough for everyone in Ottawa to hear, and they're backing it up with numbers, signatures, and actual legal pathways. When a movement has both the public support and the legal ability to pull the trigger, you can't just laugh it off.
To you about this because this is huge. Literally, while we were all sleeping, these two provinces united in a way that hasn't happened since Canadian Confederation.
The part Ottawa is probably losing sleep over. If these referendums pass, there's nothing standing in the way. No approval forms, no federal veto. The Clarity Act makes it clear, if the people vote to leave, they can leave. And Alberta already has everything in place to do it first. Saskatchewan won't be far behind.
I think a lot of people are just speechless, saying, wow, that's a little greasy, that the Liberals continue to lie and lie and lie, and then turn around and backstab with more lies.
And here's where it could get very real, very fast. Analysts are saying that if Alberta actually votes for independence, the US could recognize it as a sovereign country within months. Months, not years of messy negotiations, not endless legal battles, just a quick handshake and a new flag on the map. And once Alberta has that recognition, Saskatchewan isn't going to sit around wondering what to do next. They'll be right behind, ready to swap out Ottawa's rules for something that actually works for them.
Sounds very hypocritical if they like your money, but they don't want you to make the money.
If Ottawa isn't panicking yet, maybe this part will do it. Alberta and Saskatchewan walking away would rip $20 billion a year out of federal revenue. That's not a mild inconvenience. That's a budget implosion. Whole programs would have to be gutted, and while that's happening, the rest of Canada would still be trying to figure out how to replace 75% of the country's oil supply. Good luck running an economy when 3/4 of your fuel just walked out the door and set up shop somewhere else.
$15 billion from Alberta in equalization payments every year. So you imagine a pipeline, but of cash, literally cash, billions of dollars from Alberta to Quebec every single year, but they will not allow even a liquefied natural gas pipeline from Alberta through Quebec to the East Coast.
And it's not just about oil. The departure of these two provinces would send shockwaves through the entire national energy market and tank Canada's global influence in the resource sector. Overnight, the country would go from being a major energy player to just hoping it can keep the lights on and the pumps running without foreign imports.
We got an issue with our federal government that's corrupt and has been making our lives worse for the past decade.
Then there's the political aftershocks. Quebec, the longtime will they or won't they partner in Canadian unity drama, would see Alberta's exit as a green light. If the West can leave, Quebec will dust off its old independence playbook before Ottawa can even catch its breath. And let's not forget British Columbia, economically tied to the US Pacific Northwest more than to Ottawa. Vancouver already trades more with Seattle than with most of Canada. BC might not jump directly into the US's arms, but the idea of staying tightly linked to Ottawa's orbit, that could disappear fast.
BC, because it's in the coast and all of that, they might even try to just separate from Canada themselves and be their own country as well. It will open a Pandora box for sure, or a can of worms.
Their economies are already deeply tied to the US. Oil from Alberta flows straight into American refineries. Saskatchewan's wheat and uranium keep heading south, and the trade routes are already there. Add in the fact that the legal path is crystal clear under the Clarity Act, and Ottawa's options for blocking this look pretty thin. They can't pull some magical, you're not allowed move. If the vote passes, it's done.
Alberta and Saskatchewan are already more connected to the US than to the rest of Canada.
What makes it even worse for Ottawa is that the West's frustration has gone past the point of being a political talking point. It's now a set of concrete actions: lowered referendum thresholds, massive signature counts, coordinated public messaging, and the complete lack of fear when it comes to openly challenging federal authority. If this rebellion keeps heating up, Canada's map might never look the same. So stick around, hit subscribe, and don't miss what happens next.